Once you're done with your cross contour hand, you're going to need to pick a hand that you would like to shade in pencil. And I have a wood pencil, not a mechanical pencil, my kneaded eraser, and just an additional eraser in case I want to shade or erase a little bit more. Before you start shading, I want you to identify where your light source is. Like, where is the sun going to be or your highlights going to be? I'm going to just choose to make my light source right here. So this would be my little sun. It's going to identify where all my light is coming from. In each of your remaining hands, you are going to shade 9 or more shapes. So you're not going to shade the whole hand just like we did in cross contour. You're going to identify several shapes, 9 shapes that you are going to shade. So not every space is fully separated. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna identify the shapes that I would like to shade. So say I wanna shade this nail. I know that my light source is here, so I'm gonna just go down, identify my highlight, which should follow the shape of my object. So this is my whole shape. Next, I'm gonna find my next shape that I would like to shade, and I'm gonna follow it from here. So say I wanna shade this finger. I don't necessarily want to shade here, so I'm going to close off this shape based on one of my internal lines. So now this whole area is where I'm going to shade. Now this space is closer to the light source, so my highlight is going to be a little bit bigger. So this is the area that I'm going to try and keep white. Notice that my highlight isn't on the direct edge of my object. I want to make sure that it is a little further away because value always wraps around the entirety of a form. So I'm going to shade this one starting up here, so it's going to be fading away from the light source to the shape that I have identified. And I'm using a wood pencil instead of a mechanical pencil, using the side of it just like we learned before. In slow motion, I'm kind of working in little ovals, and those ovals are constantly overlap, and that's what's blending my lead together. As I move further away from my highlight, my value is going to increase. I'm going to make sure that it's getting darker. So that means I'm going to increase my layering along with my pressure. Now, just like we did with cross contour, we identified the internal shape. I'm going to make sure that I am shading with my shape. So following these outside lines and internal lines, making sure that my shading doesn't go flat. So keeping it at an arch and making sure that I'm not smearing it with my finger. Where I want it black, I'm going to increase that pressure and fade away. Now, you don't have to have black every time, but in your areas that are furthest away from the light, it's good to have those, really show that contrast. And remember, layering is part of it. It's not all pressure. So pressure and layer, small ovals. Now, right now I have a nice gradation going from dark, so black, dark gray, this middle gray, and then I just jumped straight to white. If I turn my pencil over, I can just work small ovals with my eraser, and I want to get rid of that defined highlight, making it a soft transition. And I do the same thing with my edge. I kind of just soften it. I don't want to have a defined outline like that cartoon bubble highlight. So this is nice. I can consider this area done. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. So I start at the top where it's nice and light, and I'm going to work around that highlight all the way down to the bottom, making sure that I am following the shape. And I don't have to have black every time. I could just have dark gray this time. But I do need to have that highlight each time. So see how I have that cartoon bubble? I want to erase that. Just gently, little circles with my pencil. Make sure that that's fading. Now if you get a harsh line, you just go back, layer a little bit more. Remember that shading is a layering process, back and forth, back and forth. It's not a mistake, you haven't ruined it. Just go back and layer in something else, either a layer of erasing or a layer of lead to help you build that smooth transition following your light source. I need to do this 9 times, so I'm gonna identify 9 shapes, and I can close my shapes, like say I wanna do this, it's kinda interesting. Identify my highlight, make sure that it is following my sun and it's following my shape. So I'm gonna do this as another one. This is a shape inside here, but I'm gonna kind of skip this one because I have a value right there. So I'm gonna go in here instead, close off this space, and then following my sun, I have a highlight right in here. And maybe I want 2 highlights because there's a section here. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. I need to pick 5 more and then remember to shade towards this. So all my values are gonna go light to dark, and I'm gonna shade following my forms.